Hi, Siva. Thank you so much, everyone. Thank you for joining us for this third annual Boomer and Beyond Academy. Our partnership with AARP and the Osher Lifelong Learning Institute has been a terrific one. We do partner on programming as well as this wonderful annual event, and we're so pleased to have you all with us today. I am going to be sharing my screen to provide you with a brief overview of OLLI, so let me just go ahead and do that. Okay, so learning knows no age. And we have volunteer opportunities for teaching, research, and intergenerational activities. Let me just make sure you are seeing that. Hold on one second. There we go, sorry. So take it from Albert Einstein, you neither need to be clever nor especially gifted, only very curious to be a lifelong learner. Our lifelong learning program here at George Mason University began in 1991 with a few people around a kitchen table deciding that they wanted to enjoy university level classes and explore interests and also find their peer group in retirement. And we've been thriving for the last 30 years, offering a wide and varied academic program with over 600 lectures and discussions and courses that we put on annually. We offer curriculum areas in music and art, psychology, science, foreign policy, you name it, we've got it. We have teachers from the university that teach for us, as well as community members, and also students from the university and subject matter experts from the DC region who we derive from think tanks and a variety of other wonderful resources that we have here in the DC metro region. Also, our organization is really like a cooperative. We're a membership organization with the people in the membership actually teach the courses as well. So there's a lot of teaching opportunities for you to become, as you become members. There are 124 OLLIs across the nation, and we are affiliated with those various OLLIs. They're attached to institutes of higher learning. So there is a lot of best practice sharing and some program exchanges. Also, if you are going to be retiring somewhere other than the Northern Virginia region, you can look up online. You just Google Osher Lifelong Learning Institutes, and you'll get to our National Resource Center to find an interactive map which will identify an OLLI near you, wherever you might live in the country. So OLLI at George Mason University provides educational programming, leadership opportunities, and cultural enrichment for our over 1,100 intellectually curious Northern Virginia retirees that are part of our organization. We actually have 3 campuses in Northern Virginia. We have one in Fairfax, one in Reston, and one in Loudoun. But obviously, due to the pandemic, we are all virtual at this time, and we intend to stay virtual until it is safe to come back. But being online is always now moving forward going to be a pretty important part of our program. The OLLI program aids regional policymakers in search of programs to serve our growing senior demographic. Because we collaborate with programming with the city of Fairfax, as well as the county and other governmental partners, we also serve in various capacities with the Governor's Office on Virginia Aging, the Long-Term Care Coordinating Council of Fairfax County, and some of our local partners. We do this to encourage the wider community to become part of the organization, also through teaching, research opportunities, intergenerational exchanges with George Mason University. What you might find when you come to Ollie are classes and courses, as I mentioned. But if you're not quite retired yet, you might want to look into some of our professional opportunities where we are recruiting people in to be teachers. We have students. This is an image of Christopher Vo, is a professor who graduated from the engineering department, and he was an expert in drones, and he came and gave us a presentation, actually 3 presentations on drones, and was very lots of people were very interested in that. So when we have students come over to give us research windows into research that they're doing, and we get to have these firsthand accounts, which are really great. We also do book talks. We are a partner with the Fall for the Book Festival, which is actually going on right now. So if you wanted to learn more about that, you would go to fallforthebook.org. That's a local literary festival that happens every year in the fall. We have about 150 authors that come and present their books, and you get to go and listen to their book talks or participate in discussion groups with the authors. And due to the pandemic, it's all virtual right now. But normal times, the Ollie members would go over to the university, which is primarily where the book festival is held, and they would have preferred seating for a variety of terrific presentations. We had Colson Whitehead here a couple of years ago. David Balducci has been at our organization. Jodi Picoult. So there's just an amazing array of authors that we have access to, and other wonderful programming just because we're affiliated with the university. As I said, students and professors will come over and present research. We also have performance opportunities and lectures from the professors. We have live musical performances by the School of Music, which is a wonderful partner with us. We have terrific relationships with the university proper, with the administration, and lots of lecture and discussion group opportunities. In appreciation of the contributions that the academic departments provide to our organization, Ollie, that is, the teachers that come over to teach for us are all volunteers. We like to give back in many different ways, and one of those is to provide student scholarships to the university students. These are some wonderful students who are recipients of Ollie scholarships, and we've given hundreds of thousands of dollars over the last 30 years to help our students with their lifelong learning, because we understand that lifelong learning is a full cycle. You never stop learning, and we feel it's important to help others as well as taking help enjoying lectures ourselves. We want to make sure that lifelong learning is a continual thing. We also give grant money to the Mason libraries, and they do special projects, oftentimes with our membership. We've given money to the Early Identification Program, and we've given considerable funds to the Office of Military Services. As I mentioned, the Fall for the Book Festival is a big partner with our organization. There are many opportunities for intergenerational learning. The Mason libraries and Ollie have worked on oral history panels where we capture life experiences and firsthand accounts of interesting historical events that have happened in the lifetime of our memberships. And in this example, we have a look at the Cuban Missile Crisis, talking to veterans from that period and getting their oral histories recorded and sharing that not only with the live audience that's there, but also recording it for the archives at George Mason University. Our Ollie members will also participate in classrooms with the students. They do tutoring, they offer career advice, and in some cases, they will even host foreign students that need housing. One of the other features of being an Ollie member is this opportunity to cross over to the main university and do service, volunteer service with the various boards, the various academic boards that are at the university. Every discipline has a board of directors, and we seem to have representation on every single board at the university. So being a part of OLLI is really a great entree into wider service at the university, and we're very proud of our representation there. Some other aspects of what we do, our volunteers have opportunities to volunteer with, our members have opportunities to volunteer within the wider community, as well as going over to the university to do special projects. We have a very robust photography club, and they visit over to the university quite regularly to take images of a variety of events, but in particular, the theater, music, and performance department over at George Mason University. Our semi-professional and in some cases professional photographers will go and set up and take images of the performers for their headshots, for the actors, and also just pieces that will be submitted to the program for the Center of Visual and Performing Arts when they have presentations. The images are often OLLI images that you see in those programs. They also go out to the Special Olympics and all kinds of great volunteer opportunities within the community. One other piece of something you can get involved in if you become an OLLI member is research studies at the university. Our members are happy to be studied for the sake of well-being and the greater good. We've had a number of cohorts working with the Health and Human Services Department and the Bioengineering Department to learn about aging. We've done tests with mobility and sit and stand stress tests, as well as vision hearing tests and overall health. We have had some OLLI members with sort of Fitbits that track them. It's a lot of fun to get involved in these types of research opportunities, and you get to interact with the students, which is also a lot of fun. Overall, OLLI has something for everyone. We do excursions, we do have field trips. We have a theater troupe that is a lot of fun. They go around the region and they perform in a variety of different ways and different people. So if you've ever had a bug for acting, you can explore that here at OLLI. We have a lot of social activities and fun in our classrooms. As you can see, a lot of happy faces there. We have a number of musical performance groups that are just people, OLLI members who met each other and decided that they wanted to, in this case, start a trio. We have great lectures and opportunities for travel, in fact, as well. And then we have parties and lots of good times. So we hope that you would be interested in learning more about OLLI. You can go to our website at olli.gmu.edu. You're perfectly welcome to email or call me. My information is on the screen. Think about this when you do finally retire. What do you want to do with yourself in retirement? OLLI offers so many great options, and I'll stop sharing my screen there. And it's not only you're going to enjoy the lectures and the discussion groups and meet people, you'll have all these other really wonderful diverse opportunities to really explore your interests or even in service to the community. So I am happy to take your questions. There's a Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions at all, please feel free to put them in. Right now, we are running a promotion for the coming semester. We're actually in the midst of fall. It just started last week, our fall term. And you can still sign up. There's plenty of time to sign up. Or if you have someone that you know that's already retired, this is a great time to join OLLI. We have a special promotion right now. Our annual membership fee is usually $450. But if you join for the first time in the fall, this fall, you can join for $300, which is a really amazing savings. Oh, it looks like I have a question. The website, okay, the website is OLLI, that's OLLI I'm sorry, OLLI.gmu. that's all you need to do is just put that into the website. You'll find it. Then I see another question. I can't quite make out that question. So I'll keep looking at the Q&A as I chat. Oh, we have another question. So there is membership is basically for an entire year. You have we have, as I said, over 600 course offerings, but then there's the clubs and special events that we put on, and there are 4 terms per year. So we're in fall right now, and then winter. Spring is 8 weeks, and then summer is 6 weeks. Fall is 8 weeks, and winter is 4 weeks. So it's a year-round, lots of activities, lots of enrichment and fun. So I think that's it for questions. I want to thank again the AARP for helping to sponsor this wonderful event, or sponsoring this wonderful event for us. And I look forward to seeing you all. I hope you have a wonderful day and enjoy all your presentations. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Jennifer, for that wonderful overview of OLLI. So now we're going to get on with our program. It is my pleasure to introduce and welcome our first speaker, Miss Martha Brett Schneider. Martha is a Search Inside Yourself Leadership Institute certified teacher, author, blogger, speaker, and award-winning nature photographer. Okay, that's a lot. Under the umbrella of her company, Damsel Wings, LLC, her offerings help busy people cultivate daily mindfulness practices to flourish in all aspects of their lives. Formerly an international economist at the U.S. Treasury and International Monetary Fund, Martha stumbled upon mindfulness teachings while recovering from breast cancer in 2009. She chronicles her journey in her book, Blooming into Mindfulness: How the Universe Used a Garden, Cancer, and Carpools to Teach Me That Calm is the New Happy. Martha and her husband live in Vienna, Virginia, where they raise 2 sons and a myriad of 4-legged and winged family members. Please give a warm virtual welcome to Martha Brett Schneider. Martha, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Suba. Okay. Share. Here we go. Okay, well, thank you so much, Suba, and to AARP and to OLLI for hosting this event. After that full bio, I'm not going to tell you too much more about myself right now. You'll hear a little bit more as we progress, but I'm just so delighted to be here with you today. Also to talk about just a fun topic about flourishing in new life chapters and reinventing yourself. Most of my talks this year have been about navigating COVID. So I love the optimism and potential and promise of today's talk. So I'm going to start with a story. I very recently came across some really cool facts about the saguaro cactus that are, I think, perfect for today's talk. The saguaro cactus is the largest cactus in the United States. And before I share these, I was just my last time in a plane actually was last fall going to Arizona. So I was able to I even had my own pictures to pull from when I learned these facts I'm about to share with you. Which just is a segue also into any of the nature shots that you see in my presentation today are my own. And so here's the first one, and this is why the saguaro is a big part of the story. So the saguaro cactus, again, largest cactus in the United States, it only grows 1 to 1.5 inches in the first 8 years of its life. So even when they're 10 years old, they might just be 1.5 inches tall. they don't produce their first flowers until they're about 35 years old. And they don't even grow their first arm until they're 50 or 70 years old. So, and in drier areas, it can be even 100 years old. So that is really great news for all of us, right? I know that I was a late bloomer when it comes to my purpose work. So really have a new appreciation for the saguaro. So just kind of sense into to this picture here. A lot of us are feeling this way pretty much every day with the headlines right now, and I'll just come clean with this. This picture was taken, was drawn of me, a parenting class teacher. Drew this picture of me when I was this is maybe, I don't know, close to 20 years ago, not quite, but when I went to a Fairfax County parenting class to complain about my wild boys who were doing their best to get me to yell at them. They were highly successful at that. And when I was telling the teacher this story, she drew this picture of me and she said, "This is you, this lady is you, and these zigzags are the negative energy that you are spewing into the world, and it's contagious." And wow, I mean, in that moment, I mean, in that chapter of my life, I was juggling my career at the IMF. I'm raising these boys. I'm, was doing the Washington D.C. metro thing of like, gotta put my master's degree to good use and climb the ladder as quickly as I can and get the credentials, all of that. And so who has not felt that from people around us or in our corner of the world? So unfortunately, it took breast cancer, as Suba described, in 2009 to force me to really sit down and, and shut up for long enough to realize that I was missing out on my life in real time. I was chasing after thoughts that weren't serving me. And, it was just this big, huge aha moment. I stumbled into mindfulness teachings during my recovery year, and the practices transformed my experience so much that it became my life's purpose to share that with others. So my intention today is to share some of the tools that really helped me not only erase those zigzags, but also to connect with purpose, to build the resilience that it takes to step into new directions, and to live with intention by embracing new identities for myself that I certainly never imagined would have been on my path. I was not one of the people who was introduced to mindfulness or meditation in my youth. I was, again, economist, very, not the woo-woo person. I generally thought that people who meditated were unproductive people. Economists are very much about productivity. So anyway, so you can kind of see how transformative these practices have been for me. And again, since I want to make sure that we have enough time for the hands-on practices that I'll be taking you through, I'm going to hold questions until the end. Okay. Good. So, oh, yep. Martha, before she discovered mindfulness. There we go. So before we begin, let's just get on the same page about what is mindfulness. We see, it really has become mainstream, and we see different definitions. I like this one by the Mindful Nation UK report. The UK government actually was so convinced by the mountain of research now on the benefits of mindfulness practice that they commissioned a study to see how they could bring mindfulness practices into some of their policy making, healthcare, education, that kind of thing. And in their report, they define it as mindfulness being paying attention to what's happening in the present moment, in the mind, in the body, and in the external environment with an attitude of curiosity and kindness. And notice that focus on curiosity. I noticed, loved hearing the Albert Einstein quote about that importance of curiosity to be a lifelong learner. Albert Einstein is actually a rock star in the mindfulness community, in case you didn't know. So another question that people have sometimes is, what's the difference between mindfulness and meditation? So mindfulness is that state of present moment awareness where we're not thinking about the past, we're not thinking about the future, we're simply resting our attention on the reality of what is actually happening right now. What's my true felt experience right now? So a really simple term is just being aware. So meditation, on the other hand, refers to a family of mental training practices that are designed to familiarize the practitioner with specific types of mental processes. So different types of meditation actually work different neural networks in our brains. So mindfulness meditation in particular, this is the type of meditation where we are cultivating the mental processes of attention and awareness. So, so again, as Einstein recommended, meditation is the practice of being in a state of curious awareness. Okay, so if we were live, I would say, who out there, who are dog people out there? And I'm sure we have many of you in the audience. Dogs are the best mindfulness teachers. This is Apollo, one of my current mindfulness teachers. Apollo is practicing his squirrel mindfulness. So you can see Apollo's full attention is on that squirrel in this moment. He is not thinking about all the squirrels that he didn't catch yesterday. By the way, he's never caught a squirrel in his life. He is not thinking about the squirrels that may cross his path tomorrow. He is right there, all in, his attention trained on that squirrel. So that ability to keep our attention focused on what's most important in this moment is a core skill for what we're talking about today. It's a core skill for intentional living. So we may have an inspired idea, a notion of what a new chapter might entail, a fun thought that sparks some joy, but if we continually to buy into habitual thinking patterns or allow ourselves to get distracted by thoughts that don't serve our purpose, we're just wasting our time and energy. Lots of times we'll immediately move into, oh no, I can't do that, I don't have a degree for that, I'm just going to go sink back into social media and see what all the other cool things people are doing on Facebook in their retirement. It's just a waste of time. It's just a waste of time. Cancer really made me realize how fleeting our time on this planet is. So I need to maximize use of my time and energy resources while I'm here. And again, this is where my economist wiring comes in. Economists are all about maximizing resources, right? So distraction is a wasted use of our resources. And the sad thing is that studies have shown that our attention actually wanders about 50% of the time. So about 50% of the time, our attention is not placed on where we want it to be. Whether that's in conversation with loved ones, whether that's with colleagues if we're working, whether that's in our purpose or whatever it is, 50% of the time we're not paying attention to what we want to. But there's good news. The good news is that research has stabilized around findings that show that regular meditation leads to increased focus. That means less time in that mind wandering place. It leads to better emotional regulation, and it leads to increased self-awareness. So this self-awareness piece is super important because it feeds how we show up in the world. It helps us stay connected to our values and our sense of purpose as we move in to our, to new chapters. So But how do we actually train this skill of mindfulness, this attention training, in a formal way? Well, we know that practice is super important because we know from neuroscience that what we think, do, and pay attention to actually changes the structure and function of our brain through a process called neuroplasticity. So the more we practice something, the stronger our neural networks for that activity become. So probably most of us were taught when we were kids in school that, we had a finite amount of brain cells and we shouldn't do drugs or drink because they're gone. And remember that ad of your, here's your brain, the egg in the pan with the drugs. Well, that was a really good tactic that I unfortunately could not use with my own kids, because we now know that the brain is malleable, and when we practice something, we are actually able to spark new wiring and spark new, again, really change that structure and functioning of our brain. We know this through fMRI scan technology. So we're going to do a really brief attention training practice. So we're going to do this by using the breath as our anchor of attention. And some of you may have done this before, maybe not. You can just do this sitting in a regular chair wherever you're sitting. You can also practice meditation, this type of meditation, standing or lying down, whatever it is. I'm just going to walk you through really briefly. I'll guide you through it, and just recognize that we're going to be using the breath as our anchor of attention. And when you get distracted, which you will, it's totally a normal part of the process. As soon as you notice you're distracted, we'll just be coming back to the anchor of the breath. And it's the noticing the distraction that is actually the win here. Okay, you'll notice that you may have a lot of negative self-talk come in, like, oh, I'm such a loser, I could only focus for a couple of seconds. But no, remember, that kind, curious attention is what we're paying here. Also paying attention to our inner narrative, our inner dialogue with this. Okay, so wherever you are, just go ahead and find a seat find a posture that's comfortable for you. Just with, if you can sit up, that's great. Having your feet on the floor, both feet on the floor, legs are not crossed, hands are on the legs, just resting gently, or cupped in the lap if that's more comfortable. And if you are comfortable closing your eyes, go ahead, or just have a soft downward gaze to reduce distractions. And just beginning with a few full breaths in through the nose, and then a full breath out through the mouth. Feeling the lungs expand with the inhale. Feeling the body soften with the exhale. And now just allowing the breath to return to its normal cycle now, its normal rhythm. You're not trying to breathe in any special way now. Feeling now the weight of the body pressing down on the chair. Feeling your feet supported by the floor. And feeling your hands just resting on the legs. Noticing any sounds that may be in your environment. Just bringing curious attention to what sounds are reaching you without judgment, without putting a good or bad label on. Just noticing. And then checking in, kind of big picture with the body, checking in with your head, bringing your awareness there, and your neck. Your shoulders, maybe softening the shoulders if you're feeling your shoulders moving up towards your ear. Just let them drop. Noticing your torso, your arms, feeling your hips, your legs, and your feet. And now noticing where in the body you feel the breath. Where do you feel the movement of the breath most vividly in your body? It may be at the tip of your nose, or the top of your lip. You may feel the air moving through your nasal passages, your lungs filling with air. You might feel your shoulders rising up and down. Or in your stomach, if you want to connect with the movement of the breath. More directly, you can put your hand on your stomach, just feeling that movement. This will be the anchor breath. So when you notice you've been distracted, coming back to this anchor. And bringing that curiosity to the breath, noticing if the breaths are long or short, deep or shallow. Noticing each in-breath, each out-breath. Even noticing the space between breaths. Thoughts will come and go during this process. It's what our human brain does. When you've noticed you've been distracted, just say, oh, okay, just coming back to the breath. Where do I feel it? And to help you maintain that focus a little more, you can explore counting your breaths in cycles of 10. 1 with the inhale, 2 with the exhale, just up to a count of 10, and then starting over at 1. So go ahead and try that for a moment on your own. Each time you've been distracted, you're doing a bicep curl for your present moment awareness, because you're right back in the here and now when you notice. And now for just a few more seconds, letting go of any need to focus, just let's just take 3 more deep in breaths and full out breaths. Maybe setting an intention to bring this level of clarity and attention to the rest of the event. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes. Bring your attention back to the space here. Thank you for your attention. So what we just did was what we call in our Search Inside Yourself trainings that we do for organizations. We call that a dedicated practice. That's kind of like when we go to the gym and we set aside a particular, amount of time to do our workout, but we also have these little dedicated micro practices that we can pull this in just in the space of 3 breaths. So we call this just the 3 breaths practice. Whenever you're feeling overwhelmed, could use some clarity, condensing this into the first breath cycle, bringing your attention to the breath. Okay, I know I can sense into that I'm breathing for that first breath. Second breath, just relax the body a tiny bit more. And then on that third breath cycle, once you've noticed that bit of clarity, kind of like a settling of a snow globe, just drop in the question, what's most important right now? So you can try that on your own right now while I take a quick drink. Okay, so how do we step into our new life chapters? How do we kind of embrace some new identities? And before we talk about that, we need to have this little chat about ego. And ego gets kind of a bum rap. Sometimes you're, I need to get rid of my ego. I need to dissolve my ego. And that is, we really kind of need our egos. And the point here is to have a healthy relationship with our ego. So I love this this quote by Tim Kelly from his book, True Purpose, 12 Strategies for Discovering the Difference You're Meant to Make. The ego is kind of, as we go through life, we develop our certain beliefs and opinions about ourselves. We base that answer of, that who am I question on what we've heard from parents, teachers, interactions with other people. And that's okay to an extent, as long as we know what the ego is trying to allow us to operate fully in the world. So the ego has a job. The ego sees its job as maintaining our sense of identity. Its job is to keep us safe in the world. Its job is to get our needs met. So those are all things that that we kind of could use that help, right? So the issue is being aware, though, of where we're getting that definition. So in maintaining our sense of identity, again, it comes from everything we've heard growing up, everything we've heard in school, everything we've heard in the workplace, everything we hear from society. So when somebody says, what kind of person are you? You would respond with your ego's sense of your identity, that construct that you've created to understand and identify yourself and your beliefs. And what happens is the ego filters and interprets data that it receives in a way that reinforces that sense of identity. And it tends to filter out information that doesn't agree with your beliefs about yourself and the world around you. So those interpretations might be correct and they might not be correct. So it's not a matter of right or wrong. It's just an illustration of how a healthy ego is working to do its job to protect us and keep us safe. And without it, again, we would have difficulty functioning in the world. But here's the issue. In order to do its perceived job, the ego really resists growth and transformation. Remember, it filters out everything that isn't within that definition. So how do we move beyond that? We cannot step into new chapters if we still have all of these old definitions. I mean, if you had told me when I was working at the International Monetary Fund that I would one day be having this talk with you as a meditation teacher, as a nature photographer, that was never in my, path. It's not like I thought when I was, younger, oh, one day I want to do that. No, that's not at all how it happened. So we have practices that we can do to just kind of erase soften that thick line that we have around our self-definition, maybe poke some holes here and there. And we do that by tapping into our body's wisdom and our heart's wisdom. If we're only head-based and we're only listening to our thinking brain, we are only listening to the ego's definition of us based on all of the old thinking patterns. So the key here is, how do we tap into that deeper sense of wisdom, deeper sense of purpose? And one way we do that, again, because our body is much wiser than our thinking brains, we can gain this deeper self-awareness through a body scan practice. Now, some of you may have done the body scan before. If you do yoga, you might do this at the end of Savasana. You might do this as a relaxation technique. The way that we use it in mindfulness meditation practice is this is an observation process. It's a curiosity process. We are paying attention to what's happening in our body, and we can gain insights into our emotional experiences in our body, because emotions show up first in our bodies as physiological experiences before we even have thinking and labeling and language attached to them. We go into this so much more deeply in Search Inside Yourself and my other meditation programs, but just so that you are aware of the intention of this body scan practice. And we'll do it. We'll do it right now. I'm gonna walk you through a shorter version of this. If you do a mindfulness-based stress reduction class, you would be doing this body scan for 45 minutes. Don't worry, not going to ask you to do that. This I'll just take you through for a few minutes. And again, you can do this short practice sitting in a chair or lying down as well. So let's just step into that again by finding that just seat, comfortable upright position. If you're sitting in a chair that feels comfortable for you, alert and relaxed. And again, you can close your eyes or keep them slightly open, unfocused, if that's more comfortable for you. I'll be guiding you to bring your attention to different parts of your body. And since our intention here is to develop self-awareness, we're just going to notice the sensations at each point, rather than trying to cultivate or induce any states, such as we don't have a goal of relaxation here, we have a goal of curiosity. So let's just start with taking 3 breaths. And now allowing the breath to return to its normal way of breathing. Just noticing the in and out breath. Now bringing your attention to the top of your head, your scalp. Noticing any sensations or lack of sensations, either's okay. Then shifting awareness down to your face, your forehead and the muscles around your eyes, your cheeks, jaw, lips, and your tongue. What sensations do you notice there? At the front of your neck, then the back of your neck. There's no need to change your experience. The purpose is to simply notice what is in this moment. And moving your attention to your shoulders. Becoming aware of your upper arms, your lower arms, and your hands. What sensations do you notice? You might notice heat or cold, weight or lightness, moisture, dryness, tingling, pulsing, maybe throbbing. It's the whole array of sensations that our body experiences. Now bringing attention to your upper back and down to your lower back. And next to the front of your body, your chest and stomach. Notice the sensations of the breath, maybe beating of your heart, anything else. And sensing now into the lower part of the body. Notice your hips, your seat. Moving through one leg at a time. What's happening in your thighs, knees, shins, calves, ankles, tops and bottoms of your feet, all the way to the toes. And doing the same on the other leg. And now bring your attention to your entire body, from the top of your head all the way down to your feet. Notice the whole body breathing. Bringing your awareness to what it's like to be sitting here, right here, and right now. So thank you for your attention. When we get to Q&A, you can let me know how that was for you. So just to kind of pull together how all of these practices work towards our purpose and connecting with purpose and again, flourishing in these new life chapters that some of us may be thinking about. We start with mindfulness as our foundational practices to cultivate that that attention and the awareness and the curiosity about our experiences, and what kind of sparks joy when we are able to tap into our body's messaging through the body scan, through our other meditation practices and other practices. We learn to get clarity around what sparks joy, what is in alignment with our values, how do we want to show up in the world, how do we want to make the most of our time here on the planet, how do we keep our attention focused on what matters most on our journeys. So one way, one thing that we need to keep in mind as we move into new areas and new chapters is that we're going to need resilience. We're going to face setbacks. That's just the way of the world, and our mindfulness practice actually, the whole array of them, helps us to cultivate that ability of resilience, the ability to bounce back from challenging situations, and to really adapt to change and thrive with agility, and just to help keep us moving forward, so we don't fall back into that negative thinking, or I've never done this before, I can't do it. One practice that we have for resilience building, and by the way, our body scan practices, when we and our meditation practices give us that resilience by getting us out of our thinking brain a little bit. When we bring our attention into our body, we get it away, we quiet our thinking centers. And get clarity again. So another very important part of our mindfulness practice, and a big resilience builder, is self-compassion practice. This is Kristen Neff. She's a pioneer in self-compassion research, and so much to say we can do a whole course on self-compassion. But what's important for you to know is that the research shows that rather than being a weakness, or no matter what we've been told by society about self-compassion, people who practice self-compassion, who are able to, and with the core pillars of it being this mindfulness, being aware of what's actually happening in the present moment, knowing that setbacks and failure are part of our common humanity. It's not about us, it's about the human experience, and bringing self-kindness to our inner narrative and how we respond to setbacks is a huge resilience builder for us. And research shows that self-compassion actually leads to a growth mindset. So very important part of our practice. And another practice that don't have time to go into today, but in terms of keeping that focus on our intention, tapping into purpose, tapping into what makes us feel alive, and really trusting that and paying attention to it. Journaling is another one of our mindfulness tools that can really deepen our practice as a whole. So just wrapping up here real quickly, we covered a lot in 45 minutes today. And of course, these are all just little tapas plate portions of practices that are, there's a reason we call them practices, because it's a process. The more we incorporate all of these into our daily lives, and it really is about frequency of practice as opposed to the length of the practice. It doesn't have to be, we don't all have to be going to an ashram. We don't have to all be, immediately going to meditation retreats. My morning meditation programs, we work with 10-minute guided meditations and then have Q&A. So it really can just be in very small bites. Yeah, so I'm gonna pull back there so we can save time for questions, comments. I would love to hear how the practices went for you, if you have any questions about anything that we covered today. So thanks for your attention, which is a scarce resource. But we do have the tools to work with that. So in the meantime, as you're pulling questions together, just letting you know that if you're interested in exploring any of these practices any more deeply, please visit my website, damselwings.com, and I can let you know about new programs coming up. And so Anne says, where is my 10-minute guided meditation? What I was referring to was my morning meditation programs that are I do these several times a year. It's an audio only Zoom platform that we do. It used to be at 6:45 a.m. Now with COVID, it's 7 because so many people are working at home. So everybody is happy to have another 15 minutes. So anyway, you can learn about those meditation programs at damselwings.com. I have another 15-day program, got you covered, starting right after the elections. I know people are going to need that. So yeah. So reach out, and I'm happy to answer more questions about that. Thank you, Iris, for your kind words. I'm glad it was helpful during this challenging time. What would be the opposite, Lily says, what would be the opposite of what would be the opposite of finding purpose? I would say the opposite of finding purpose would be to continue to just buy in to old self-definitions. And just living your life in that still very limited way based on what you think you're supposed to be doing, or that you think you're supposed to be using your degree for something, or that you think you're supposed to be doing something based on what other people told you. I think if I'm not sure if I'm getting your the hint of your, or the spirit of your question correctly. So let me know if I'm wrong. Okay. Ooh, Jenny, good question. How do I recognize my heart and body's wisdom versus being tricked by my brain? Yes, our brains are very, very tricky. So it's all about the body. And it's all about cultivating those moments of clarity by quieting the mind. See, our minds we know from neuroscience that our brains can't multitask. And so maybe you've heard this before, that multitasking is a myth, but we know now for sure that even when we think we're doing different things at once, we're really just shifting our attention back and forth very quickly. So when we pay full attention to our body's sensory experience, it means we cannot pay attention. Our attention is pulled away from that tricky thinking brain. And the more we do that, and the more we ground ourselves in the body's sensory experience, our thinking brain quiets down a little bit. And when we cultivate more and more moments of clarity, whether it's in our formal meditation practice, which the more you do it, the more of those moments of clarity, and weaving those moments of clarity throughout your daily life through that 3 breath practices and many others that we have. That's how we know our body's wisdom is always the true wisdom, because it is operating on what is actually happening in the present moment. If you pay attention to your tricky thinking brain, you'll notice that most of our thoughts are based in the past or the future. So whenever you notice stress is going to be about, you're worried about the future. worry, is about the future. If you're depressed, or whatever, if you're starting to tell yourself stories about what you can't do or what you aren't capable of, that's all based on old stories. So get into the body and say, what's real right now? Like, is that still real right now? What my third grade teacher told me, that I'm not artistic, or I'm not creative, or that my mother said this, or my, whatever. So tap into the body, drop in the question. Doesn't have to be what's most important right now. I very often drop in the question, what's real right now? Is that really true? Or is that just my thinking brain doing what it does to try to protect me? It doesn't want me to go into new directions because it's trying to protect me. It's uncomfortable moving out of the old definition. And we don't have to be super down on that voice. Like, make it, you don't have to have this conflictual, like, that voice is bad. Just know that we can have a choice. Oh, thank you for trying to protect me, tricky thinking brain, or ego voice, or inner critic. That's the big one, inner critic. Thank you, inner critic, for trying to tell me to not go in that direction. You are part of the family, but I'm going to put you in the third seat of my minivan with your seatbelt on and a snack to keep you quiet. And I'm keeping my hands on the steering wheel on this road trip. Okay, so if I need you, I'll call you, and in the meantime, I'm going to pay attention to my body and my body's wisdom. And I felt a spark of joy, and I'm going to go for it, because I can do that. My body is smarter and wiser than my thinking brain. So, Jenny, that was kind of a long answer, but hope that helps. How do we calm the monkey mind? Anonymous attendee. Well, we did that. We did that in these two practices. Would get, as soon as we tap in, again, get into the sensory experience of the breath, which is always with us. And that monkey mind, for those of you who may not be familiar with that term, it's just all those thinking, everything our brain does to, keep us distracted and throw in all the thoughts and all of the circular thinking that we do, all the distractions, all that noise in our heads. We're gonna, boom, get into our bodies. Remember, we can either pay full attention to our thoughts or our feelings, and we're gonna get into the sensory feel of our body. It can be as quick as, so the micro practice for body scan is just asking the question, where are my feet? My feet are on the ground. Like, bring your awareness all the way down to your feet, gets it away from the head. Okay. The movie Maven says, before your life forced a reset, you sounded like a type A personality on steroids. Yes. Post your reset. Sorry. Let's see. Post your reset. You sound so calm and focused. How would you describe your personality now? Type A, B, type B, type C. I don't use labels anymore. That's it. Sometimes my type A, are and that can be ego based, however you want to put it. Yes, I'm so much calmer now, and I can really turn it up with the discipline as well when I need it to stay focused on intention. So I don't even know how I would describe my personality now. Somebody once said to me, I thought that mindfulness people were just supposed to be just calm and sort of quiet all the time. And sometimes that's true, but I find I am so energized by my mindfulness practice. I am so energized by the privilege of doing my purpose work in this way. I get super excited about it. And then I have to ground myself to my feet again. So it's all fluid, and it's wonderful to be able to just embrace every single aspect of our personalities, every single emotion that comes along. We're not pushing anything away. And so, yeah, I don't know if that helps or not, but I generally don't slap the labels on, because as soon as I say I'm never doing something, it's over. Then I end up doing it. My first line in my book, Blooming into Mindfulness, is the suburbs were never part of the plan. And I've been in the suburbs now for 26 years now. So, okay, let's see. Anonymous again says, thank you. This is an intentional way to start my day. How do you get buy-in from organizations like AARP to build practices into their businesses, operating structures up and down the line? That, my friend, is exactly what the Search Inside Yourself curriculum is all about. It is a mindfulness-based emotional intelligence training program that is designed for organizations. And it's not just, I mean, I've got a public program coming up in January where individuals, it doesn't just have to be organizations, can also take part in that. So reach out to me if you are interested. But generally, that program looks at mindfulness, starts with mindfulness and the neuroscience behind it, how our brains work, and then using mindfulness practices as the foundational skills to develop and build our emotional intelligence domains, which are absolutely critical for just relationships within organizations, staying connected to values, direction, and I mean, we used to talk a lot about productivity. This program was actually developed at Google for Google engineers. It was developed and tested there, and is now taught in organizations around the world. So Healthy Me says, because I'm aware of my time, I'm just going to finish up with, how does one get over fear? And very quickly, fear is one of those human emotions that sometimes is appropriate. I mean, sometimes certainly this year, I mean, we have this whole range of emotions that we're dealing with. And so rather than getting over it, it's how we respond to it. So life situations are going to happen. And it's how we respond to it. First is acknowledging that it's there first, and then bringing that self-compassion to it. This is what fear feels like in my body. Bringing self-compassion to, I'm not alone. This is part of the human experience, again, especially this year. And then working with practices, body scan practices and others to just work with that. That's a very big question, but again, all of these little tapas plate practices can help with that, and there's just so much more. I'm going to step back though and pay attention to the time. So thank you all so much for your attention and your time and the opportunity again to AARP and Ollie. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Martha. That was really amazing. I learned a little bit about, I didn't know what a monkey brain was, and I certainly have it. So thank you for the excellent presentation. I think that helped a lot of people, especially with everything going on, right now with COVID and all the other stuff going on. So really, really appreciate your presentation. So folks, we're at that time. We're going to take a break. Stretch your legs, get some coffee, whatever else you need, and we'll start again precisely at 10:30. Martha, thank you again.
Thank you very much, Suba.
Welcome back, folks. I hope you had a chance to refresh the beverage of your choice and stretch your legs. So our next presentation is titled Volunteering, Good for Your Community and for Your Health. And our speakers are Steve Muddy CEO of Volunteer Fairfax, and Ms. Nadia Hunan, Partnership Manager with Volunteer Solutions. So let me tell you briefly about them. A lifelong volunteer, Steve Muddy joined Volunteer Fairfax in 2018, bringing over 30 years of corporate and nonprofit experience in Northern Virginia to his role of leading the region's largest non-government volunteer organization. Steve is passionate about strengthening communities, advocacy for, and empowerment of disadvantaged and marginalized populations, and dog rescue programs. He's the proud granddad of 3 rescue dogs. Nadia Hunan is the Partnership Manager for Fairfax County's Area Agency on Aging Volunteer Solutions. Nadia works to connect volunteers with meaningful opportunities to improve the lives of older adults and adults with disabilities. She has worked as volunteer coordinator for several years, in which her experience has led her to recruit, vet, and place volunteers for a variety of programs. So please give a warm virtual welcome to Steve and Nadia. And so Steve and Nadia, the screen is yours.
Thank you, Suba. Thank you, Ollie and AARP. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen now.
And I'm going to ask for video to be unlocked for me, if possible. And looks like we have our slides up. So let me kick this off. And first, Suba, thank you very much for that introduction. We're delighted to be here this morning to talk to you about volunteerism for seniors. Nadia and I are partners in volunteerism in Northern Virginia. And in addition, Nadia has worked for our organization before. And so we're thrilled to be talking to you this morning. Just a little additional introduction. So I'm a senior. I'm turned 65 next month. And I live in Alexandria, Virginia, although I'm coming to you this morning from Denver, Colorado. Out my window to my left here are the Rocky Mountains, where I'll be hiking this afternoon with one of my 3 grand dogs and my son. So delighted to be here, and turning it over to Nadia.
Thank you, Steve. So a little bit more about myself. I am in Springfield, Virginia at the moment. So hello from over here. I'm a transplant to Northern Virginia, actually, originally from Virginia Beach, but I've been here for a solid while. So I am feeling really comfortable in Fairfax, Northern Virginia. So much to offer over here, not just volunteering opportunities, but great food too. I do want to give a disclaimer. So I've let everybody in my house know I'm doing a presentation. I do have a dog though, and she has a pretty loud bark. So I'm trying to keep her under control, but you might hear her say hello in the background. Just a couple of housekeeping items. If you look at our presentation, you will notice that there's more of a blank space on the right-hand side. And so the slides have been designed with that in mind. If you're on a computer, you might see the video of the presenters on your right-hand side or potentially up at the top. You can actually toggle with the video. If you do prefer to see our videos, we suggest that you grab that screen, the video screen, and move it over to the right to that blank side so that it's not prohibiting you from seeing anything in particular from the slides. You can also choose an option right when you see that video screen in the middle. There's a little box. So you'll see a lowercase box. It's kind of like a dash, a box, and then 2 rectangles stacked on top of each other. If you click the middle one, it should show you specifically the one person who's speaking so as to make it a little smaller for you. And then I believe on the phone, if you're calling in on video on your phone, the videos will show up at the top. So it should be okay to just keep them up there. I don't know if you can actually move them on your phone. Another thing is we definitely encourage questions. We want this to be an open conversation. While I know we're virtual, so we can't, see you face to face, feel free to drop in questions into the chat box. We will go ahead and review them towards the end, so that we'll leave time at the end to talk to you, answer your questions and everything, and we'll review those questions. So thank you all so much for joining us, and let's get started.
So let's talk. Just review quickly what we're going to talk about today. We'll give you a little bit more of a flavor for what our respective organizations do, and then we'll delve a little bit more into why seniors volunteer and why right now is a great time to volunteer. And then who benefits from that? And we put at the top of the list that we, the seniors, benefit from this, in addition to our community and also future generations that we're trying to pass the ethic of volunteerism to. They benefit as well from our example and our leadership there. And then we'll wrap up with, specifically how you can find volunteer opportunities through our respective organizations, and a little bit of a, finish with a call to action. Why now? If you haven't volunteered recently and you're contemplating it, why is now a good time? If you are already volunteering, why is it a good time to maybe be volunteering more and stepping that up? So those are the things we're going to look at. And so let's go to the next slide. And I'll start by introducing you to our organization. Volunteer Fairfax, as mentioned by Suba, we're actually one of the largest non-government volunteer organizations on the East Coast, if not the country. We serve in our region, which is Northern Virginia, over 1.6 million people, although our primary focus is the county of Fairfax, where there's about 1.2 million people. Last year, we engaged over 14,000 volunteers and those volunteers generated over 50,000 hours of value add to the community. And I think an important point to make, and this is on behalf of Volunteer Fairfax and Volunteer Solutions, we're providing volunteer opportunities for people of all ages, all abilities, and all ethnicities. Another aspect, and the one that would be of greatest interest to this audience, is our program called RSVP. You may have heard of the Corporation for National and Community Service, which has sub-groups that you may be more familiar with, like AmeriCorps and Senior Corps. And under Senior Corps is the Retired Seniors Volunteer Program, RSVP. And you can go to the next slide, Nadia. RSVP is a branded program that actually is going to be rebranded in only a couple of days. I think the new name is going to roll out in a few days, and it's just going to be AmeriCorps Seniors. And it recognizes that, it covers everyone 55, above the age of 55. And it recognizes that not everyone over 55 these days is a retiree. I'm still working. I'll probably work for a number of years more, but I also want to volunteer. And so the new program and its new name is recognizing that a lot of seniors, they may be starting to curtail their hours, and they'd like to use some of those new hours that they're gaining back to serve their community, and the talents that they have had in their careers, they can bring to serve the community. So that's RSVP, and we'll tell you at the end how you can connect with us and join that program, which by the time you connect with us next week or later, it will be AmeriCorps Seniors. So that's my intro.
All right, so I'll move along to Volunteer Solutions, but I do just want to focus on that picture there for a second. Look at how happy those volunteers are. They're just great. These volunteers have been volunteering in this picture, for the Northern Virginia Senior Olympics. I'm sure many of you all are familiar with it, and it's just such a great program. You too could be that happy volunteering with us and with Volunteer Solutions. So Volunteer Solutions is a program within the Fairfax County Area Agency on Aging. We do fall under the Department of Family Services. Every now and then there can be a little bit of confusion around volunteer solutions, Fairfax County, volunteer Fairfax, what's the difference? Where do we lie? And so I think a good way to view it is that volunteer solutions falls under the Fairfax County government. However, we do partner with a variety of organizations, and Volunteer Fairfax is one of those. Specifically, we do often also partner with their RSVP program. Sorry, I had a little technical glitch there for a second. So within Volunteer Solutions, we focus on mobilizing and connecting volunteers with meaningful opportunities in order to improve the lives of older adults, adults with disabilities, and family caregivers in our community, all throughout the Fairfax area. We are a partnership of Fairfax County's Department of Family Services, which is where we're housed, the Health Department, and the Neighborhood and Community Services. However, like I said earlier, we do partner with a variety of other organizations, such as Volunteer Fairfax. We also partner with for-profit organizations, other community-based organizations, and groups for a variety of volunteering opportunities. Specifically within the last year, we've had over 3,000 volunteers. Steve mentioned earlier that, we both are open to volunteers of varying ages, varying walks of life. So we welcome anybody who's interested in volunteering. I think a good thing about volunteering with the county is that there's so many opportunities all throughout our area. So I'm pretty certain that you're destined to find something that fits your needs. Our volunteers served over 90,000 hours within the last year, which is just incredible to me. So many people. And just because we say 3,000 volunteers and 90,000 hours doesn't mean we're at capacity. We always welcome more people, for sure. And we have locations all throughout the Fairfax area. One of the things that we're seeing pop up now is a lot of virtual opportunities. And so that is inclusive of our program as well. You're now able to volunteer from the comfort of your own home, which is a really big benefit for a lot of people. We have a Facebook account. If y'all wish to follow us, you could just type in Fairfax County Volunteer Solutions to stay up to date. A little bit more about our program, just to give you a better snapshot of what we do and what type of opportunities we have. We have a variety of opportunities where our volunteers can go to our clients' home and help them out, do virtual visitings as well with opportunities, in-person social visits, of course, outside of the pandemic, right? Helping out with yard work and going to adult day healthcare centers and senior centers. That's where a lot of our partnerships come in play as well. And if you're more of an in-office type of person, we do have a variety of locations throughout the county where you can come and help us out in the office. There's always work to be done, so we'll definitely give you something meaningful. We also provide Meals on Wheels, and so we have volunteers that go out and deliver the meals and coordinate the deliveries as well. We partner with Fairfax Pets on Wheels, so if you have any pets, I know we talked a little bit about dogs earlier. If you have any dogs that you want to volunteer with, they also get to volunteer. They get their own badge and everything too, which I think is just adorable. We also have one-time opportunities, and we'll talk a little bit more about what that schedule looks like for people. Outreach opportunities, and as I mentioned, virtual opportunities. So this is, like I said, just a snapshot. I know Volunteer Fairfax has a wide variety of opportunities as well. And one thing I just want you to take away from this is that if there's an opportunity that you want to try and the first time you try it out isn't necessarily a good fit, there's always something else for you to try out. And we're more than happy to help you look for that.
Sorry, I was muted. Before we dive in, I thought we ought to talk a little bit about how the COVID situation has changed volunteering. And Nadia and I are going to share this slide. I'll start by giving you another disclaimer, and that is that you will see throughout this slideshow, there were a number of stock photos that we've used where people are unmasked. And so these depictions, I want to just make sure that we clarify that we're not in any way suggesting or encouraging anyone to do a volunteer activity without taking the precautions. And for that matter, it's important to state And I've had to make choices of my own because I fall into multiple high risk, categories under COVID guidelines, not only age, but certain health conditions, like many of us. And I've had to make the choice to forego some volunteer activities that I would like to have done. And so want to in turn, suggest to everyone here strongly that if this is not the right time to volunteer because of COVID, notwithstanding that there's a lot of need out there, your health comes first, and the health of those who you would be serving as a volunteer as well. So strongly urge all who are contemplating volunteering while COVID is still in the stage that it's in, that they really do that in a way that is very thoughtfully considered and employs all of the prevailing cautions that are in place, that have been put in place by local, state, and federal government and all the other trusted agencies. So let me turn it to Nadia just to talk about the community need and how that is changing the face of volunteerism right now during COVID.
Thank you, Steve. And I couldn't agree more with those disclaimers. Of course, when you volunteer, we want to make sure that you're comfortable with what you're doing and also being safe. So something that we're seeing in the community, of course, a lot of organizations are taking necessary precautions, establishing new policies and procedures for volunteers and for staff members. And there definitely has been a rise in the community need. I think we see a lot of that, especially within emergency situations, right? Not just, I guess some of the normal ones that come to mind are not just hurricanes, earthquakes, and things like that. But of course, in the midst of a pandemic, we are definitely seeing a big rise in community need and the community response. In my experience, there have been a lot of volunteers that are reaching out, trying to find ways to give back while also staying safe, and be it through virtual opportunities or distance volunteering. So some of those needs, I'm sure many of you have seen that with like donations, for example. The use of PPE, especially early on in the pandemic, was something that was very limited for a lot of organizations. So we had a lot of local community organizations and Fairfax County government as well reaching out to our community to request donations. And we saw a really big uptick, which was really heartwarming, of volunteers stepping up to the plate. And, they started sewing masks. I remember hearing about a lot of library volunteers coming together and sewing thousands of masks, many people just reaching out, seeing where they could donate and what they can do in the response as well. And I think another thing to, kind of consider with this is a lot of people are at home. They're a little bit more socially isolated, and especially within our vulnerable populations with the pandemic, they might be not as able to go out to the grocery stores or to get their basic necessities. And so it's not just within community organizations that we're seeing volunteers step up, but it's also neighbors, right? Neighbors can volunteer. I check in on my neighbors, make sure that they have what they need. I've seen a lot of people posting on our Nextdoor app to see if there's any need out there. If somebody goes to the grocery store, can I do something for you, right? So there's a variety of programs that have seen an increase in need and response. And it doesn't really take much to search that and look at that for sure. And I think that really changes a lot of our volunteering for the future. We're all still adapting. I'm still adapting to the virtual environment and, figuring out ways of working from home and making sure that I'm getting things done. And so as we continue to adapt to these new tools and just new ways of working, the field of volunteerism is also adapting as well. So while we've had not just Fairfax County, but I think throughout the nation, we've seen virtual opportunities be a thing. there has been a significant rise in virtual opportunities now as we step up to try to meet the demands of still, helping out our community and with distance volunteering as well. So the difference here being that, virtual volunteering you can, again, do from your home. You could potentially pick up the phone and call somebody, be part of a virtual social visiting program, and still be able to maintain that distance while still volunteering, which is also, a great benefit of being able to stay at home and still feeling like you're giving back or making those face masks. Whereas with distance volunteering, it's a little bit different because you're still in person, but it could look like you going into a soup kitchen, for example, or helping to pre-pack meals and distribute meals specifically on your own and dropping them off at somebody's house while still maintaining that distance so that you're not, face to face with somebody, but you're still helping them out with those in-person ways. And again, just going back to what Steve mentioned earlier, I think that the precautions are very important. Of course, can't stress this enough, but do something that you feel comfortable with and confident in that you can stay safe in, but rest assured that there's still opportunities out there that you can get involved in, even virtually.
Well said.
Thank you.
Well, on the next slide, before we go further, I wanted to try to smash some stereotypes here and get us in the right frame of mind. Look at these pictures. Who's the volunteer and who's being helped? Just take a moment and look at these pictures, and I think you will agree with me that the traditional view would be that the elderly person in each of those pictures is the one receiving help from the younger person. And I would challenge that. I want to smash that and say, if you really take a hard look at each of these pictures, offering advice, comforting someone who has just had a loss, offering a healing touch, offering technical expertise. You look at some of these photographs, the gentleman on the bottom left, is he being helped? Maybe we seniors have sort of earned this stereotype when it comes to technology, like how do you turn this on? But I would challenge that and say, this gentleman may be teaching these young people something that he is a whiz at on the computer. Similarly, the gentleman above in the wheelchair is being helped to a car. But is he being helped to a car and therefore, the woman on the left is the volunteer? Or actually, is he being helped to the car to get a ride to his volunteer activity that he does daily or weekly? So I would just ask that everybody sort of change their frame of mind and thinking a little bit, because again, because the need is so great out there, and the fact that the talent and the knowledge and the instincts and the life experience that our age group brings to volunteerism is paramount, and I think will be apparent as we talk further. So again, Nadia and I are going to share this slide. In fact, I think you were going to take this one, as a matter of fact, Nadia.
Yeah.
So please do.
Thank you. So there are definitely reasons why anybody volunteers, anybody of any age, right? But I think specifically for seniors, a big part of that is having flexible schedule, especially the retired folks. I feel like oftentimes there's a little bit more time, and I say more time in quotations because we all know that sometimes that looks very different for everybody. Especially one of the things that I hear often is within your first year of retirement, you have all of these things lined up, all of these trips planned, these house projects that you want to get to. And so that first year might look really, really busy for somebody. And then after that first year comes the time where you're like, okay, well, now that I've done all of that, what do I do now with all of this time? Or it could just be that you have a little bit more of a flexible schedule. Perhaps you have more time available during the weekday and you're more in control of a schedule if you're outside of a typical 9-to-5 job, right? So that flexible schedule is definitely something that is very appealing to a lot of our community members when they volunteer. You can find something that pretty much fits your schedule in Northern Virginia. And even if it's a one-time opportunity or an ongoing opportunity where you're looking to go and volunteer once every week or bi-weekly, there's something out there. And what I've known to be true is that the organizations are definitely very flexible as well and very accommodating. So I think it's a mutually beneficial thing, not just for the volunteer, but for the organization as well, to have that flexible schedule. The caring for community portion, I wanted to share an experience that I had growing up as a member of the younger generation. I think it's, this is really impactful for me, and ways that I've had volunteers just change my perspective and shape who I am today. So I was thinking about a time back in high school when I had just first started getting a little bit more into volunteering and learning more about it and, being engaged. And so I was part of this group of volunteers that planned an event. And there was this one volunteer leader. He was much older than us, of course, led a group of teenagers. I think you need to have a little bit more of a maturity to be able to do that. And so this guy would round us up on a monthly basis and bring us all together. And as we plan this event, and this guy, one of the things that has always stuck to me is that he would always call us doctors. Regardless of who we were, he would say, okay, Dr. Nadia, Dr. So-and-so. And it was so funny to me at the time, but I started thinking about it, and it's just, it became like a very motivational thing for us, because we realized, okay, well, if he's referring to us as doctors, he has high hopes for us. He knows that, we're someone that they can really invest in, and they really believe in our future. And so I gave it more thought. I found it really inspirational. I didn't go on to become a doctor, but it was a really nice opportunity. However, I did seek his support in other ways, and mentorship in particular. And so he volunteered his time, and along with his wife, we ended up, getting to a place where we were very comfortable with each other. I would seek their opinion, especially as a high school student, and kind of thinking about my future career and how I could map out my future. And they really helped shape a lot of that future for me. And just thinking about how they dedicated their time away from work to volunteer and, spend time with me to do that one-on-one, and the impact that really made on my life. I know a lot of the decisions that I've made in life to be in the public sector is definitely rooted from those conversations that we've had. And it was just such a great experience to have that, somebody from an older generation invest in me and care for their community to the extent that they want us to succeed makes such a difference. And that's really just one small experience for me. Can you imagine how much of a difference you can make in your community, especially when you're working, be it one-on-one with somebody or in a large scale event? It really can be extremely impactful for your community. So just something to keep in mind. There's many health advantages to volunteering as well. I won't go too in depth with that because I know Steve will touch on that. But I think one of the things to keep in mind with the health advantages is that you're able to stay active. It's not just a physical thing, right? But also a mental and social part of it. And I think the social part of that is way more important now more than ever, with so many of us just being at home. Giving back to the community and staying engaged can definitely help with that social piece. I know I benefit a lot from that as well. I love to talk. I love to be around people. And so doing things where I'm able to connect with others is a huge advantage to my health. It also gives you a big sense of purpose. You're connecting with a purpose to your community. So not only do you personally feel good, but feeling good and being at your best allows you to give back your best to the community. And so again, a mutually beneficial thing there, right? When you're at your best, your community benefits even more from that. And the social and family portion here is something to also take into consideration with volunteer opportunities. It doesn't necessarily just have to be an individual, independent thing, but you can reel in your friends, your family, and make it a social event. And all go together to volunteer, or even volunteer from home and make cards for people and have that be like a night in. and all get connected with that. And of course, there's also the education and enrichment portion that comes with that. So I do want to give a shout out to Ollie and AARP here, because that's definitely something that's at the top of their list. I know that you all attending the event are very aware of that. And with volunteering, it's also an opportunity for you to enhance your skill sets, to gain more education in areas that perhaps you didn't have previously, and just enrich your overall life with that.
So I'll talk about a little bit more about the health advantages. And as a senior, I think we will all agree, and Ollie and AARP, you see in their programs and in their publications, a great emphasis on these three things. That we need to, as seniors, continue to be active socially. We're concerned about our health, and we're both physical and emotional health. And so I'm thrilled to report, and we use this statistic widely, that 88% of those who volunteer, those seniors who volunteer, report fewer feelings of isolation, 84%, stable or improving health that they attribute in part to their volunteer experiences, and 78%, more than 3/4, reported fewer symptoms of depression. That last one being very important, because depression right now, as we know, is being amplified by the COVID emergency. So those stats kind of speak for themselves.
Can't deny the statistics, right, Steve?
Yes. Yeah.
Agreed.
So who benefits from volunteering? It's not just the community, the bullet in the middle there. You benefit, we seniors benefit from volunteering, and future generations benefit. The community benefits indirectly by, as Nadia mentioned in her example, something that served to pass this ethic of volunteering to future generations. And let me just go to the next slide and talk about that one first, and why that is so important. The next generations coming up, Nadia's generation included, they look at volunteerism differently. Volunteerism for them is more experiential than before, than traditionally it was for us. We just went out and did work out of a sense of duty, and the younger generations really view this as an experience. And part of that experience is volunteering with, or being inspired to volunteer by, a senior member of their family, someone that they look up to, that they love, that they admire. And so that, again, is what I meant by the role that we as seniors can play in volunteerism is not just an activity that serves the community in some way, but it also helps this investment in the future of volunteerism for our sons and daughters and grandsons and granddaughters. So the you part of it, why should volunteering be about you? Again, I grew up volunteering, again, more out of a sense of duty. It's like somebody tells you, look, we got to go dig a ditch in somebody's backyard. You don't question why. You go, you dig that ditch. You don't even know who the people are. You go home, you're all dirty and you're sore for days, and you feel like you did your duty to your community. And, we ought to be more selfish in choosing a volunteer activity. We should be choosing a volunteer activity that aligns with our own personal interests and passions. And that runs a little bit contrary to the spirit of volunteerism. The spirit of volunteerism traditionally is you're giving unconditionally of your time to help others. And that certainly is true, and that remains. But think about if if you're choosing something that you're personally interested in, or you'd like to learn more about, or you have a particular skill where you know you could do that better, we know, I know, Nadia knows, all of our counterpart organizations who mobilize volunteers know that the best volunteer is one whose activity that they choose aligns with their interests and passions. Why? Because they'll stay on the job longer, they'll show up earlier, they'll stay later, they will do a better job, they're more reliable, they spread the word to their friends, and they again set an example and project their passion for the particular thing that they're doing, which inspires the younger generations to do the same. So that's why you shouldn't feel guilty about making volunteerism about you. And if something pops up and they say, look, we really need this done, but it just is not your bag, take a pass and wait for one that comes along that you will enjoy and you will really get into, because we know you'll come back and do that again for us.
Yeah.
So, yeah, go ahead, Nadia.
I'm sorry. Just to add to that, I mean, I couldn't agree more. It's equally important for us that the volunteer is satisfied with the opportunity as well. As Steve mentioned, you know, we want to make sure that you're satisfied in that opportunity so that you can do your best within that. And if it's not a right fit, then we can just find something else for you. And I think oftentimes with volunteers, we have a very strong sense of altruism, right? We want to do good, we want to give back in whatever way that looks like. We may not know initially, but we want to help. But that doesn't mean that we can't choose the opportunity that aligns best with our interest, our skills, our experience, or even things that we want to learn as well. And another beautiful part about volunteering is that you're completely in control of this as well, right? It's not exactly like you have to go to a job and show up and do what you need to do. There's more flexibility around what you can choose to do and the things that you want to be invested in as well. So even if you don't have a specific skill or interest at the moment, but it's something that you want to learn and you want to explore that, it's a really great way to go about with that.
Absolutely. And before we move on, I just want to point out the two pictures on this slide that kind of make a point. As a senior, you know, I've put in place a few new rules in my life. One of them is I suffer no fools. I think this audience is going to identify with this. And another one is I want to do what I want to do. And I also don't want to do what I don't want to do. And that I apply to volunteerism. And so the gentleman on the right, he could have been a nuclear physicist. And I learned but you know, when we come and ask him to sort of donate his knowledge to you know, maybe teach kids in a STEM program, his answer justifiably might be, you know what? I split atoms for my entire career. For 45 years, I retired, and all I want to do is go out there and pick up trash, get dirty, and you know, do jobs that, you know, beautify my community. And, you know, they don't use my intellectual capacity that I know I have, but I'm done exercising that. And this is all I want to do. And the gentleman on the left taught me a very valuable lesson. His name is Ken, and he's one of our star RSVP leaders and a consummate volunteer, like hundreds of hours a month sometimes, and has won awards for that. And Ken is, he came out of the corporate world, and he ran a very large organization. He was in, he was with one of the major regional health systems, and he was in the C-suite running a large hospital. And I had a request made of our organization about a year ago to help with a very important program providing backpacks to needy children in one of the local school systems. And given the percentage of children that are on the free and reduced lunch program, we were talking about 60,000 children that we were trying to get backpacks to. And I was on the committee that was trying to plan the logistics for that. And I immediately thought of Ken. I said, this guy ran a hospital. He's going to be able to help me with this. And I called him up and I said, hey, Ken, I got a great opportunity for you. You're just the guy for this. I have all these logistical, challenges, and I, could really use your help. And I know you're going to be great at this. And he shocked me by saying, Steve, good luck with that. I did that, and in its day, I enjoyed doing it. And what I enjoyed doing now, and what makes me go to bed feeling good about myself, and what makes me get up wanting to do more, is to get in a pool in an adaptive recreation program for kids with disabilities. That's one of my passions. Has nothing to do with what I used to do. And with all due respect, I'm going to stick with that. And that I learned an extremely valuable lesson. And that really circles back to why this should be about you. Because when Ken is in the pool, he's changing the lives of young people who have not had this opportunity before, and the lives of parents who have been heartsick about the fact that their son or daughter has not been able to accomplish something such as what is seen here in this photograph with Ken's assistance. So I hope that makes the point about that before we go further. And so now we are going to kind of conclude, and in the next 2 minutes, and that will allow us up to 15 minutes for questions. And I see there are some questions starting to come into the chat. So first, for Volunteer Fairfax, how do you find opportunities on our website? Go to volunteerfairfax.org, and you can do a couple of things. First, you can click on the RSVP tab, which is going to be changing again to AmeriCorps Seniors. You click on that tab, you can join that program, or if you just like to go right to volunteering, you will see on the main page of our website, on the upper right-hand side, right next to the donate button, the Volunteer Now button. And when you click on that, it will take you to an updated list of volunteer activities that you can register for. And as always, I mean, we're not answering the phone right now, but you can email us. You'll find that contact information as well. And I think Nadia is probably going to throw these links into the chat before we wrap up.
And so similarly to Volunteer Fairfax, Fairfax County also has a search engine. To keep it straight and simple, you can go to fairfaxcounty.gov, and at the top of the page, you will see at the top right a search bar. You can search Volunteer Solutions, and you'll be able to find the Volunteer Solutions website. A couple of links may pop up. The first one should be the one that you can go to, and it'll land you on our Volunteer Solutions page. You'll find a lot of information on there about what we do, some newsletters. You'll even find a lovely podcast at the very bottom talking even more about volunteering opportunities in the county through Volunteer Solutions. So highly encourage you to check it out as well if you're feeling inspired, which I hope you are after today's presentation. So a couple of things to recap to consider when looking for volunteer opportunities. Definitely keep in mind your availability and your schedule commitment. Again, it's something that you can, pick and choose based on what you want. Location preference. Originally, I would lead with thinking about if you live in South County and you're traveling all the way to Reston, or even just all throughout Northern Virginia, right? Throughout Virginia, considering if you live in a specific location, you might want to volunteer somewhere closer to home, I would imagine, especially in Northern Virginia with traffic. However, I think my new twist on this now is definitely keep an open mind to those virtual opportunities. As I mentioned earlier, we're seeing that dynamic change, and I think it's something that's going to stick around even after, we start going back to more in-person opportunities. So keep in mind that you could still volunteer from the comfort of your own home, and as well as your skills and interests. So when you go to the Fairfax County search engine, you will be able to see an advanced search, and it's pretty similar to the Volunteer Fairfax one as well, where you can refine your search based on mission, based on location, and things like that. So you do have a lot of that technology readily available to help you out, but you'll also find our contact information on our website as well, in case you want somebody to talk to over the phone or check in by email. We're more than happy to help you out with looking for opportunities. And again, with Volunteer Solutions, we have a variety of opportunities all throughout Fairfax County. Just want to drop in a quick little information about one of the events that we host every year called Venture into Volunteering, where we do partner with Volunteer Fairfax and the RSVP program, where we host a volunteer fair for people to come out and get engaged. It's kind of like speed dating, but for volunteering, right? So our in-person event, you would normally go through tables to look at that. We're looking to take that virtual, hopefully in the future. And so you'll be able to kind of check in with different volunteer organizations. So just be on the lookout for that as well, not just in years, in the next year, but in years to come, since we do that every year as well.
So I see some questions and comments in the chat, and I thought if you're all set, Nadia, maybe I would address a few of these, and would certainly encourage people to put other things in the chat. But before I do that, let me just kind of close with this call to action. Why now? Why, if you haven't volunteered, is this the time to step up, albeit maybe virtually? Or why, if you have been a volunteer, might it be a good time to increase that? Well, I mean, first of all, as a senior, I would say we're not getting any younger. And while we have the capability, if we have the desire to serve our community, while we have the ability to match that desire, then we ought to step up and do that. Your community needs you more than ever during COVID. We've covered that, and I think that's pretty evident. What is it that they need, and what can you bring? And we talked about it before: your talent, your deep, long life experience, your commitment, your sense of duty, and your sense of commitment that you have had for many, many years, and your passion to serve that matches with your passion for whatever that is, what your interests are, what your passions are, what your talents are. That's all part of a package you bring to serve the community. And we as seniors, we have so much to offer. We talked about 50,000 hours that we generate. The exponential value of that, that is really almost immeasurable. And so I want to ask my fellow seniors, step up now, get involved, and also use, also inspire the next generations. Bring members of the younger members of your family along with you on these activities, and teach them why this investment in the community is important, because they are going to inherit the future from us. And it's incumbent on us to assure a good future by promoting volunteerism in those younger generations. I cannot stress that enough. So Nadia, don't know if you have anything to add to that, because I did want to allow time for us to, let me go back into the chat. Anything you'd like to say in closing, Nadia?
No, I think that you wrapped it up perfectly. I think we have some good questions coming into the chat, so I want to make sure that we have a couple of minutes to be able to address that. So let's get to that.
I can tackle a couple here. Do you have to be a resident of Fairfax County? And I think Nadia addressed this a few minutes ago. No, you can go on our websites, and if you're from anywhere in the metro area, if you have a desire to serve your immediate community, then we can try to find activities that are closer to you. But we, anybody from the DMV area, we welcome to work with us. A comment from Fran: I recently joined the Medical Reserve Corps with my 16-year-old granddaughter. I'm mentoring her on volunteerism. Thanks for bringing that up. And by the way, you picked a very active one. The MRC, you can well imagine, as we move into a phase where vaccinations are going to be administered, you think of the hundreds of millions of those just here in this country. MRC is going to be front and center in that effort and in supporting that effort, along with health departments, state and local. So that's going to be a real active one, and it's one that we can help connect others with if they would like to get involved. It does involve more training typically than some other volunteer activities. Someone said we do need to be more selfish about choosing activities, and very glad that you guys mentioned that. I have no aptitude or interest in manual labor, so volunteering for cleaning, construction, or other manual labor activities is total non-starter for me. It's good to recognize that, and it's good to stick to that, and that isn't depriving anybody of your talent in volunteering. If you pick and choose the right activity, it will benefit everybody overall. Will AmeriCorps seniors still reimburse mileage? I'm almost positive that they will, that is not going to change. And I will quickly issue a clarification if that's not the case. But to my knowledge, you will still get reimbursed for mileage. The program is substantially the same, just rebranded.
Yeah, and Steve, if I can, sorry, if I can get to that one real quick before we move on. The county also does have benefits for volunteers. We do include supplemental insurance like Volunteer Fairfax with the RSVP program. And our volunteers are also eligible to have mileage reimbursement as well. So that's something that's, seen in both of those programs as well.
Yeah. I just wanted to ask Suba to maybe give us a 5-minute warning, if which I think we're probably close to, so that we don't run over, and subtract any time you'd like to use to close this out. I know it's a hard stop coming up. What's a comparable organization in Virginia Beach? Volunteer Hampton Roads, which would be www.volunteerhr, as in hamptonroads.org. What if you don't have a computer? What's the number to call? And what we're trying to be careful of here is that we don't have you call a dead line, because we've been working remotely and we don't have anybody answering our main line. So I'm going to pop my cell number in here, and I am delighted to take a call or a text from anyone who needs to have a question answered from a fellow senior. I'm about to retire. I'm nervous about being isolated under the pandemic. I want to reap the social benefits of volunteering and be part of a larger community. How does the work, how does that work under the current environment? So I hope we touched on that a little bit, obviously, more that it's virtual volunteering. I think my best answer would be, Mary, for you to go to our website, or Nadia's website that was in this slide deck. And I think Suba is going to provide some details on how you can access this again. This session was recorded. Go on our website, see what the opportunities are, see if they match up well with the social benefits that you're looking for. I think it will be apparent in the descriptions which ones will offer that. And I hope that answers your that particular question.
Thank you, Stephen. If I can go back to a previous question as well. Volunteer Solutions does have a line right now that we are checking in. It's a voicemail line. So when you call, you leave a voicemail and we'll call you back. I dropped that in the chat box. I'm not sure if everybody can see that. So that phone number is 703 324-5406. And again, if you go to our website and you go to fairfaxcounty.gov, search volunteer solutions and click to our website, you'll be able to see all of that information on there as well. Now, I know that we're, of course, representing Volunteer Solutions and Volunteer Fairfax, but there are other volunteering websites out there that you can look at, especially since I'm seeing some questions around, Virginia Beach or Richmond. What are some ways that people can get engaged? One of my go-to websites is Volunteer Match. Volunteer Match is essentially just a big search engine nationwide. You can narrow it down based on your location as well. And so it's also a nice way to just get to see what's out there. Where I do think that with Volunteer Solutions and Volunteer Fairfax, we might be able to offer a more tailored approach, and you'll be able to actually talk to somebody and look for those opportunities. There are definitely other options out there if you're in different locations as well and you're wanting to look for something elsewhere as well.
These are great questions, and I hope we have answered everyone who was in the Q&A box here. And I've thrown my email address and cell number in there, and I hope that showed up for everybody. But if not, with whatever follow-up information is sent, I'll be sure that that's included. And Nadia, unless you have any other closing comments, we're going to send this back to Suba.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Nadia and Steve. I really appreciate that. Volunteering is great. It is fantastic. It really helps one's soul, and I can attest to that. So again, folks, I'm Suba Sadi on behalf of AARP Virginia. I'd like to thank our guest speakers today, Steve, Nadia, and Martha. And I also would like to make sure I thank Mike and Susan at Ollie. They're the behind the scene folks that we would not be able to do this without their assistance. And I also want to thank the Associate State Director, Ms. Amber Sultani, Northern Virginia, who set this up with Ollie and did a great job in setting up this Boomer Academy. Again, we'd like to do this live, but I didn't think it was possible, but we got it done, and Amber had a huge part to do with it. So a couple of closing comments. AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. We hope you'll join us for future events. And of course, please stay connected. You can find us online at aarp.org/VA. And again, that was aarp.org/VA. And of course, like us on Facebook at AARP Virginia, and that was AARP Virginia. Hopefully by next September, we can host our Boomers Academy in person. Time will tell, but we will have one either way. So of course, we hope you'll join us again. So until then, take care of yourself, those you love, and have a great rest of the weekend. Thank you, folks.